Coming to you from the beautiful Treasure Coast of Florida, you're watching HamRadioConcepts.
Hey everyone, this is Eric with HamRadioConcepts, and I thought I'd make a video on my FT-450 Yaesu HF transceiver. This is HF through 6 meter, full 100 watts, all band, all mode. The FT-450 was replaced by the FT-450D now, and I bought this about 5 years ago, and this was my best investment I've ever made. I use only this. I can't ask for any more functions. I can't see why I would need to upgrade to something else. But everybody's got their own preference. So what I'll do is I'll show you about what it looks like, what the connections are in the back and stuff, and we'll fire it up and show you some of the menu features. So again, HF through 6 meter, 1.8 through 54 megahertz, and with the Mars mod, if you have a reason to have a Mars mod, you can get those frequencies as well. And this is menu driven, so most all the features and functions are available either in the menu or maybe on a button on the front. You'll notice that the volume and squelch knobs are accessible on the front. So with a menu driven radio, that's a must, because there are some handhelds where you have to go into the menu to set the squelch. This is right here, RF gain or squelch, depending on what you set it for, your volume. And then over here you have your shift for left and right of the frequency, as well as your DSP or selection. So when you're operating the DSP functions, you can set for the notch or the contour or the other features. You can set them here, or you can use this as a step feature, so you can go through the bands kind of fast and then use this as a coarse or a fine knob. Your headphones and CW key are accessible right on the front, so you don't have to worry about hooking it up in the back. And 8-pin modular mic here. And this came with the hand mic when I bought it. I'll show you the hand mic, which is nothing more than a hand mic, okay, with the 8-pin. Now I have the MD100A8X optional desk mic, which I'll show you here in a minute, which is the best investment I made for this radio, because the audio reports I get are phenomenal. It definitely is a major improvement over the hand mic, and some people have told me it's even better than the MD200, so I'll just stick with the MD100. Anyways, so this radio is not that big. It's compact enough where you can take this with you on a trip. You can use it mobile with an optional mobile bracket if you wanted to use this mobile, and you could even use it with the mobile HF Yaesu antenna. So you can have all the bands, you know, the antenna that you'd use. I think it's the ATAS-12 or ATAS-200, I think it is. You can use that, or ATAS-120 is what that would be. But you can use any antenna you want. So, or you can use it at field day, or you can use it for a base application. The screen is easy enough to read because it's huge compared to something like a ICOM 7000 has a little small screen, and the 857 Yaesu mobile radio has a very small screen. So this has, I'll show you when I fire it up, it has a lot of display on here, which I like. And so let me show you here, and you'll notice now, real quick, the buttons in the front, you can take this out of the box if you wanted, get to your band real quick, set the mode you want, and you're off and running. It's not that complicated to get started. If you want the additional features, you can read your manual about that. Stuff like Vox here on the front, you have your voice readout, so it'll announce to you what frequency and mode you're on if you have a hard time seeing the screen or you're visually impaired. DSP, digital signal processing, like I told you before, for receiving that real DX, far DX station, you can get them tuned in there just how you need it. Or for CW that's real faint, or adjacent channels that are giving you some QRM, you can get rid of that. Also, it does have a mic EQ and mic gain inside, so you can set your EQ for more bass, more treble, or more mids, or a combination. And then with the, again, the MD100 mic, you have some filters on the bottom of the mic as well, so you can get the best audio out of this. So let me go to the side here real quick to show you. When I bought this 5 years ago, I paid an extra $39 for that mounting handle here, a rubber handle, so that I could take this with me on the go and not drop it. That was an additional feature. And on the back, you'll notice you got a fan here, and this fan keeps it nice and cold, so you can set the fan for to be on all the time with transmit, or have the fan set to run all the time, only on transmit or when it gets hot. So I have this set to, when I key down and transmit, it is on. And if it gets to a certain point where it's real hot, it'll turn on by itself. Your single SO239 for your antenna. So just one SO239 from HF to 6 meters. Some radios have two, one for VHF, one for HF. Your input, 13.8 volt, 22 amp. You need the 22 amps. You actually want a 25 to 30 amp power supply because you always want to have overhead. You don't want to run a 22 amp radio on a 22 amp power supply. You're going to stress the power supply. So at a full 100 watts, full duty cycle, you're going to need your 22 amps. So don't try to use a 15 amp and get away with it. It's gonna hurt something eventually. Your data jack, your tuner jack, and your linear jack. So the data jack is where you'd plug in something like a rig blaster. That's where I hook up my PSK here for I use a digital master on the computer, and the rig blaster talks through this. So as I type the messages, it keys through here with the appropriate audio levels and such, so that you get the best signal out on PSK. Tuner would be for something like, if you look at my other videos, I have the MFJ and Teletuners. They have a cable for different Yaesu radios and different ICOMs and stuff like that. Well, the cable that I got with the MFJ will go right into here, and it will go to the MFJ tuner. So when I push the tune button on the front, it'll automatically send a low power CW carrier right to the tuner, and that way I don't have to set the radio to low power and then go into CW mode and do it manually. It'll automatically do that. Now this radio does have a tuner built in. When I bought this, it was an optional feature. I had the internal antenna tuner put in, but now with the 450D, I think they're all with the internal tuner. The internal tuner is okay. It's mainly good for if you're using it maybe mobile or with on field day or something, because it doesn't do anything higher than like a 3-to-1 SWR. So if you got an all mode or an all band wire antenna and some of the bands are not resonant enough, it might be hard for the internal antenna tuner to tune that, so you're going to want to get an outboard tuner. And if you're just using something like a wire dipole and it's pretty resonant on 20, you should do okay with the internal tuner. And the linear jack here is for something like the Yaesu Quadra or something like the Ameritron ALS 1306, which I'll show you here in another video. With this set, as you change bands on the radio, it'll change the settings on the amp so that you don't have to change bands on the amplifier. The Ameritron has a remote setting. When you set it to remote, as you change bands on here, it automatically sends a signal to the amp and changes it there too. So you can put the amp out of sight and control it all from here. The DB9 serial port labeled CAT, this is for your computer control. I use Ham Radio Deluxe with this, and as I am on Ham Radio Deluxe with Digital Master running for PSK, I can simply click on 40 meters and it'll change the radio to 40 meters, and then I can adjust my power out and all that from the computer. And if you don't have a DB9, it's no problem. I use a serial to USB converter like this, so now I can use this radio with my USB port, because a lot of radios or computers nowadays don't have the serial port. No problem. And they're available on eBay for cheap. I would recommend getting a decent one, because the cheap $2 ones have known issues with their chips inside that sometimes it won't detect it. And your external speaker and ground. So you want to make sure you ground this always for lightning protection and RF burns and stuff like that. You want to keep that grounded, not a daisy chain, but straight to a known ground. So let me fire this up and we'll show you some of the features in the menu. Okay, so picking the worst possible day to do a demo of an HF radio. Right now the solar terrestrial data on QRZ.com is showing an S9 noise level with a major storm, and all the bands are shut down. So it'd be hard to find anything to listen to on here for the demo. However, if you're extreme, you can try a data mode in conditions like this and just see if you can make some contacts, because when voice won't work, the data on the waterfall is there. So anyways, so the first thing you'll notice is it's got a nice large screen. See all this stuff going on here. You got the frequency here, and you have your filtering options up here. You have your S meter, which this button here, the meter, will change it from power out. It's always in a receive state. You can always see the receiving signal, but you can set it to power out when you transmit, ALC control, or SWR. So if you want to monitor your SWR, and I'll plug the hand mic in here for when I want to push the transmit button, but if you want to monitor the SWR right on the front of your radio, you can. Okay. So you'll notice my screen is green, and you've probably never seen an FT-450 with a green screen. I went into the service menu and changed the color of the screen. Now, I do not recommend this. I highly do not recommend this, because if you mess one setting up, you will ruin your radio, or it'll be inoperable until Yaesu fixes it, and you don't want to pay that bill. So anyways, the white on my screen had changed colors on me, so I just decided to change it to green. And last year it was red, so to match the colors of the buttons. But that's not a feature that the radio advertises for different screen colors, so just ignore that. So anyways, you have all your stuff going on here, and like I said, you can switch bands right here this fast. Okay, so from 6 meters here, you can go down 10, 12, 15, 17, 20, all the way down 30, 40, 75, or 80, 160. Alright, and even AM broadcast receive. Now, like I said, I could use this selection knob here to kind of move rather quickly. In AM, this doesn't work. So, for instance, if I went back up here to 20 meters, I can go real fast here, and then I can use this for a fine dial, you know. But, so like I said, it's going to be hard to find anything to listen to, because with the solar storm that they're showing, there's really nothing, not even CW out there. Go down here to CW, I don't hear anything. Now there's some digital, sounds like RIDI or PSK, probably RIDI. Alright, and again, if you, just a little tip for HF newbies, when voice won't work, this will. Okay, and even if you can't hear, if you go down here, you don't hear nothing. It's PSK frequency here. All you hear is static, right? White noise. But if you go on the Digital Master or Easy PSK, you will see signals on the waterfall. That's exciting to know that there's signals out there you can send and receive that you can't hear. All right, so you know, my favorite band is 10 meters, and I frequent this band a lot. This will do 10 meters sideband here. Now, if I went, you could push this knob in and change just the megahertz here, all the way up. We'll go up here to megahertz. Wasn't the correct term, but anyways, a megacycles, whatever you want to call it. So now, right here is FM. We can go here to set this mode to FM. Now you're in 10 meter FM, and you can set your offset for repeater. So because this is a standard 10 meter repeater frequency. This is in New York, and if you haven't checked into it in the summertime, I suggest you monitor on this because it's really fun. It's 1,000 watts up in the Catskill Mountains. I don't know how high it is. And you go through this repeater on 10 meters, you go all over the world. I've talked to Sweden, South Africa, Germany, across the U.S. But anyways, so you can, here's FM, and now if I wanted to tune there on my wire, you just hold the tune button. And you'll see this over here tuning, you hear the noise. It takes about 3 to 4 seconds, it'll tune. Now if I key up 1-to-1 SWR, okay? If you turn the tuner off, it'll show you what your SWR is. Right now it's 3-to-1 without the tuner, okay? So if I go back down here now to sideband, go back here to upper side, my tune button here, now it's tuning. And then when you transmit with a carrier, roughly 1 watt, okay? And data modes. So if you went down here to say 20 meter PSK area, okay, and you switch your mode to upper side data. Now the mic, you hear that? The mic will no longer transmit. Now your input and output is strictly on the data jack in the back. That's when you use your digital master with your rig blaster and operate PSK or other digital modes, you know, with the data. Oh, hear that? There's a PSK signal. And there'll be another video on my channel about operating PSK, so if you subscribe when I get that done, I'll show you that, because that's one of my favorite modes. So your digital signal processing over here, you have contour, notch, dynamic noise reduction, I'm pretty sure, width and shift. So, or shift is not anything for DSP, but if I had a conversation and there was somebody on the right on the edge of where I was talking, I could shift over and get rid of them. All right. So your DSP, if I go to contour here, I can now select contour, and we can go down to notch filter, dynamic noise reduction. Look at that. Okay, you hear that PSK? Oh, he stopped. When you hear that PSK and all that white noise, I can filter that white noise out with that. I'll show you when he transmits again. And your width. So if you want to be wide or narrow. All right. We'll go back to DNR. And so over here on the right, you'll see you have an attenuator. There it is. Listen to this. Ready? I just took out all the noise, all the hash, the white noise, and just had that PSK signal in there. And if I wanted to, I could turn the noise block on for further. And then, there you go, see? Now we'll turn this off. It's covered up by white noise. Alright, so the contour filters, or the DSP filters and DSP processing is really good for tuning in that station where it's just unlistened, it's unable to listen due to the noise. The attenuator, if I turn that on, that really takes out some of the hash. That's with the full attenuator on and DNR all the way up. And for bands like 40 and 80, you may need that. Okay? Anyways, so we have a clarifier down here, of course. If you really need to find where that frequency or that station is, you can tune them right in. And we'll go into the menu real quick. You hold the function button here, and it puts you in the menu. Okay, here's the menu. Now you have, it's all alphabetical roughly. You have your RF power right now set to 100 watts, but you can dial that in where you need it. Repeater mode for, like I said, simplex, or you can set that when you're in FM to for 10 meter or 6 meter for positive or negative offset. Repeater shift, that's the value of the offset or shift for repeaters. 10 meters and 6 meters are different. And a lot of different features in here for RIDI, for the squelch type here. Where's that at? That's for FM also. Standby beep, you're really not going to need that, but that would be basically, they call it a Roger beep. You wouldn't really use that though. Tone frequency tuner. Now here in the tuner, internal antenna tuner, let's see. Okay, the ATAS I told you about, the ATS 120 from Yaesu, that's for mobile. So you can set it for that, so it uses a tuner jack in the back. External and tuner for the tuner jack in the back. Internal and tuner, and this is I'm not sure exactly what that menu is, but we'll research that. And let's see. Okay, so we'll turn that back off to internal antenna tuner there. That's where I need it. I haven't played with much of the other functions there, so. Vox delay, Vox gain, a beacon. You have a beacon on here where you can have this beacon on any given frequency for, a 5-watt 6-meter beacon, so people know when the bands are open. And you can set your beacon timer as well as your beacon text on what you want it to say, and it'll just randomly or repeatedly beacon it on the interval you specify. And that's pretty cool for propagation reports and stuff like that. For people to pick up and know that Europe can hear US if they hear the beacon. Your CAT functions for Ham Radio Deluxe, all right. Clarifier, clock shift, CW key functions, paddle, pitch, speed. CW trainer, that's another one here. CW trainer will help you work on your CW skills, so you can play around with that. It'll send out an audible tone for CW, and you can guess, write it down and learn what it is and practice. So if there's nobody to talk to, you can practice your CW skills. All right, and some other stuff here. But for the most, there's your mic EQ or mic gain, and then you have your mic EQ. So in the terms of an equalizer, that would be flat, okay, and then your lows, mids, and highs. So you can set it no lows, no mids, no highs, all mids, all lows, or a combination. Boost the lows, cut the highs. Okay, so there's 9 different selectable things here for an equalizer for the mic, as well as the mic gain. And mic scan will be the paddle on the MD100 for setting it to scan. You can set memories in here. There are ways in the manual to program memories. I don't use memories on HF, but for 10 meters and 6 meters for repeaters, you can set memories with the tone and the shift and offset, and that way you can recall them pretty fast with a button push right here. So there are memories on here. I'm not sure exactly how many, probably 100, maybe more. But you know, overall, everything you would need could be used on this radio. I mean, there's a lot of other features on other radios that this doesn't have, but for me, the casual operator, I don't tend to need those. Okay, so get out of the menu here, turn this back off, and there's different contour settings. So you have first one here, second one, third one off. All right. Okay, so overall, I wish I could make some contacts with you, but again, there's really nobody on here at all. The band, those people on there, it's just the bands are horrible right now as we speak. All right, so I hope that gave you kind of an idea of what this thing will do, and there's also AM on here. So if you go, one of my favorite bands right here, 29.0 for 10 meter AM. Love it. Now the radio will put out 25 watts on AM on any band. So it's 100 watts for sideband, CW, FM, and 25 watts on AM. And that's typical for a lot of HF radios. Usually puts out 25% of the max power on AM. So if you have a 200 watt FT-DX9 or FT-950 200 watt rig, you put out 50 watts on AM. But you can use amplifiers if you need to. So I hope that kind of gave an idea. Let me show you here the mic real quick, the MD100, before we close it up. But I hope that gave you an idea of this radio and what it looks like and kind of what it does. And let's look at the mic. And here's the MD100A8X microphone that I purchased for the radio. And you'll notice it's got the PTT button here, the lock key, so you can lock that down if you're a long-winded talker. Lock button on here also. Okay, and on the bottom you'll see it's got filter switches. You can cut the lows, high emphasis, or through and just bypass it if you're using a W4IHY or something like that. And on the back, this has the 8-pin modular, but it goes into an 8-pin round, so if you have a radio other than the 450 you want to use it for, you can feed it in with the 8-pin round or 8-pin modular straight through cable. As well as you can get a adapter here, extension cable, 8-pin to 8-pin, take this mic out, put it in a boom, and then have this paddle here on the side, so you know it's out of your way, and then you can just use this on a boom. So that's the MD100. Great dynamic microphone, great audio reports with it, and happy I got it. So thanks for watching. Subscribe for other videos. 7.3 from KJ4YZI.